What's going on, Thrallers? This is Miller here, spitting all over the goddamn camera. Sorry about that. Got a review for you in this, courtesy of ScreamingToilet.com. Tell you what, go into your little computer and search or type in ScreamingToilet.com. Go to the website. They got a bunch of cool stuff. They review toys, games, books, just any pop culture, whatever. Go to the site. They review everything. They got some merch for sale. They got cool pins and stuff. Check them out, ScreamingToilet.com. This is Crystal Spiders Molt. This is their first full-length album. It came out on September 25th, 2020. The band is from North Carolina. And they're a really cool... They got a really cool sound, and it's not overly unique in the stoner metal, I guess, bubble of sound, or what you expect the sound to be. It's got fuzzy guitars, heavy parts, but it's good stoner metal. It's textbook. It's just straightforward. There's driving beats. There's long, drawn-out parts. It's really good musically. The vocalist is awesome. She's really talented. She's got a great voice. And it's really a cool mix between the two sounds. You get those like sludgy, slow, fuzzy guitars, you know, that typical sound. And you have these really like lower end. She's got a, not a total baritone tone to her, but it's not high-pitched vocals by any means. It's like, you know, if Sabbath took or got Janis Joplin to sing with them. Really, it's Sabbath and Janis Joplin. It's awesome. So this album has 9 songs on it, and the flow is really well. There's no songs that stand out that like are totally different or weird or anything like that. It's a very cohesive album. You can tell they took their time in the writing of it. First song, Trapped. Stoner right off the bat. It hits and it's driving and it sets you up. It really gets you in the mood. It gives you a taste of the album itself, really. I don't care for reverbs typically in vocals, but this song, it's not too bad because of what she's talking about. She's talking about being trapped inside her head. So you can kind of imagine you're just kind of in this empty space in your head. You're rattling off this stuff and it's just coming back at you. And yeah, I understand that in this sense because of the context of the lyrics. So it kind of fits, and it's not overly done by any means, but yeah, you can kind of get that sense of she's in her head and it's just kind of rattling off and she's hearing herself back and forth. The solo was really cool. It's an awesome dual lead. I love like dual leads and like stoner rock with the or doom metal with the really fuzzy guitars going back and forth or together. At the end of the solo, there's a really rough spot in that edit. It like cuts, and you could tell that the solo track was done after the fact, and it wasn't cut in correctly. You can really tell. I run into it too when you're cutting parts together. You gotta tighten that up, and you gotta bring it back and fade in so you don't get that abrupt, that kind of cut there. And that took away from that solo part. It was just a bad edit there. That's on the engineer, not the band. The next song, Molt, good driving beat. The vocals in here, I think, need up and drop the reverb in spots, but not the reverb works in some spots, but not in others. It's about knowing how much to put where and what you're doing or what you're trying to accomplish with that part in the song, and bringing it up or down. Because sometimes the vocals get lost if there's just a lot of reverb, and she doesn't need all that effects and stuff. She doesn't need that. Just bring her vocals up. They sound great. She's a great singer. The breakdown bridge area, there's a slower part that comes in, and it's got a really airy kind of atmosphere, really cool tone to it. But then, boom, it changes and goes into the guitar solo, and again, it was kind of an abrupt change. I think if you would have took that slower riff and just riffed on that in the solo over that slower riff, transition up and build that solo into that faster part, and then you can even continue the solo and go on to that part, but there needs to be some sort of like build up, or I feel like there should be some sort of build up there. And there's not. It's just an abrupt change. You could benefit from polishing that up. I know sometimes in writing you want to fit these two things together so bad that you can't find that little transition in there, so you just put them together. But there's always another way. Tiger Lily. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. This is like Sabbath, Scream Sabbath. Again, Sabbath and Joplin, it's just takes you back to those moments when you're listening to that type of music and just the feelings you get, and you're just kind of like, puts you in a good mood, mellows you out. There is a part in here where there's kind of like these on the drums. There's a shit ton of attack on those drums, and it just cuts through. It sounds heavy and cool, I guess, but it is just way different of a mix on that drum than anything else in the album, and it just sticks out way too much. There's like way too much attack on it. You lose the total body of the drums, because he's kind of soft on the toms a little bit during the album, so I think maybe it was mixed for a different song, and they just use those settings across the board. Yeah, which, if that's the case, fucking stop. Don't do that. It works sometimes, but with a band like this and everything they got going on, and the sound is stuck, and a lot of that sound is built up into the low mid range, down here. You got your bass, low mid, your mid, high mid, and your high. A lot of that's in here, so when you pack all that stuff into one area of sound, you're going to get muddiness, and you're going to get lost notes, lost instruments. So it seems, and I could be wrong, but it seems like the toms weren't cutting through, because there's so much in that little area of sound that they just raised up stuff and brought them up and got those mid-highs in and those treble and kind of got that attack on it. But then you're just mixing for the top part of that drum. You lose the lower part of that, the sound in there. If you're just mixing for that top part of the drum, you lose the body of it, and it gets lost with everything else. It's hard to mix a band that has this kind of fuzzy tone, because, like I said, everything is crammed in there and everything gets washed together. You have to pick and choose what parts are going to be in what line of sound, whether bass, mid, treble. You have to pick what's going where, and you have to separate them out if you can, because otherwise stuff gets washed out, and you're forced to jack up something unnecessarily just so you can hear it cut through, when you don't have to. You just have to go in and re-EQ things, and stick a 20 band on there and just sit there and figure it out. Don't just use a solid mix over the board. Chronic Sick, again, Sabbath Field. There's not a ton of effect on this, and they're up front a little bit more in this, which I love. Really cool riffs. And the riffing at the end, there's this like vocal line she does, just kind of over top, and it really fits really well, and she's got a great voice for it, and it's not overdone, it's not up front, it's just kind of in the background. It fits really well with what they have going down. See You in Hell. This one's got a real upbeat tempo. I think there could have been a better vocal pattern to be used in the verse, because it's so upbeat. The vocals kind of got the same feel that they do for the other songs, and those songs are some of the verses are slower and sludgier, and her vocal lines or vocal patterns fit the slower sludgy, but this is more of upbeat. Probably would have been better for the song if there were some more energy in those vocals, and then save that style of vocal, the more open and really drawing out those words for the chorus, so it really makes a difference. The vocalist, she does a lot of this where she'll string together words and with sound, so it's It's a I, O. There's no stop. It's just a continuous sound. Too much of that really kind of takes away from the impact that those moments would have when they're needed. And an upbeat riff like this doesn't need those drawn out words that are tied together with sound. There's just constant vocal sound and there's no room for anything else to breathe. And if you're constantly getting those vocals, then there's no takeaway. So then when you come in with a chorus line and there's something really cool, there's no pay, you don't get the same payoff. You give and then take and give and take. It's just all up front all the time. Gutter, a little too much reverb again on here. It seemed like there was maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 vocal lines going on. And by too much reverb, I think there's too much on the main vocal. If you take those backing vocals and put some reverb on those, get good natural bassline reverb in the recording itself of the main vocals, whether that be a certain area in a room, or you're singing in front of a piece of wood, or you're singing in front of a piece of plastic. Sound bounces off of stuff totally differently. I tend to record vocals in like a half bath in a bathroom. It's a great baseline reverb, natural reverb, importantly. Take your backing vocals, pump those backing vocals with reverb, and then you can play around with those levels and move them as needed in the song, and it's not just an assault all at once, all the time, of just reverb and voices. Pick and choose when you're doing that, but that comes into engineering and producing, and also the band really letting them know what you want. There is to money, cost. This stuff takes time, and time is money when you're in the studio. Everybody knows that. The call, this drum part in here fits really well. It's mixed really well. Everything's bassline. The toms aren't like blowing through your damn eardrums. It's like they mixed the drums for this song and then just saved the setting, and then every song is like, there you go, same setting. It makes sense that the other part was just so out of it. You could tell the drummer was banging on him harder, but then if that happens as an engineer, you go back and you fix it. There's volume sliders, and there's a whole slew of stuff you can do as an engineer. Go in and fix it. Take those high-end, that attack out of it. Back the gain off. Put a limiter on it. There's so many different ways you can take that drummer that is light 90% of the time, and then that 10% he's just wailing on it, and it's causing all these weird spikes and stuff. There's a cool slow bridge in this song, and the guitar solo is over that slow part in the bridge, and it works really well. Going back to what I said before, it's really cool with them riffing on that slower part. After that, it just slides into this riff. The riff comes out of nowhere, and there's no pre-lead up to it. It just kind of goes in to this riff that's really cool, but it like I said, it just slides in on the back side, and you don't really notice it. And I think if that part would have been reworked a little bit, if there was like a 2 measure or a 4-bar type thing where there was some sort of lead into it, it would have more of an impact when that riff came in, because it's a really cool riff. And I think if it would have been worked differently, it could have more of an impact. Headhunters, this is like a vocal drum track. It's just vocals and drums, which I commend, because you don't hear that very often at all, if ever. And this one too, again, going back to the effects on vocals, there's a lot of them, and at parts it's so much that her words get lost in what she's trying to say. And if it's just vocals and just drums and words are getting lost, I think that's a problem. Your main vocals get a good basic reverb, small amount, and then bring that in with your back vocals and play with the left, right, the pan of those to get different effects without affecting the clarity, the enunciation, the delivery of the main vocal line. Bring all that extra stuff in on the back side of it and build it up from there. Have your main part and then build up around it to build that sonic kind of wall with the vocals around that main vocal line. Take the main vocal line, you put all the crap on that main vocal line, then you're pushing all of the effect to the front. And then the backing vocals are sitting back here. If you have a strong vocal up front, and then you have the backing vocals with the effects, those come in and everything kind of gels together. And finally we come to Fog, the last tune on the track, and it's a nice mellow tune. It gives you a nice send-off in this album, and the vocals are good. There's not a ton of effects, and it's mixed well. You can hear her, they're up front. A really cool song and a really cool send-off this album. I was kind of surprised. Some of the stuff that comes across that we get to review, some of it's pretty crazy, even more brutal than I'm into, even dare I say. But this was a great pick for me personally. I think Nick knew that. That's why he gave me the assignment. Thanks, boss. But I'm gonna seek these guys out, and I will definitely see you guys play live. If any of you are listening to this or watching this, me review your album, I love it. Keep it up. You guys are doing great. I will definitely come to a show. You come to the Ohio, Michigan area, I'll be there. Me and the Thralls boys will be there. I would rate this album a 3.5 out of 5. And there's two things for that. A, I'm kind of a dick on my reviews, and B, that those few parts, it's like mixing and producing type things. I thought the guitarists, they could have made some better decisions somewhere in some of the lead-ins to different riffs, or especially like that one solo that just kind of like just pops in off that bridge into this fast part and goes in the solo, and it just doesn't make any sense. The vocalist, fantastic vocalist. Change up the vocal lines a little bit so it's not the same. If you have an upbeat thing, tighten those words up, tighten those deliveries up, so during the verse you got tight words, tight phrasing, so you're giving and taking, you get vocals, you get no vocals, so there's space. You want the vocals. You don't want them to be there all the time, because then you don't want them. So if you tighten those words and pick different vocal patterns where you can kind of cut off the word and not draw them out so much, then when you come into the pre-chorus or chorus and you have those big, long, drawn-out words, it's more of an impact, and it's going to sound cooler, and it's not going to be the same kind of sound. But this band has a very bright future, and I said without the mixing kind of errors, this would be a 4 out of 5. I'm definitely going to jam this album more, for sure. Great job, guys. So let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and look it up, listen to it, jam it. It's stoner doom metal at its finest, I think. This band tightens up their engineering, their producing, and some of their stuff here, and these guys got a bright future for sure. So if you like everything, hit subscribe, hit the notifications, give us a thumbs up or a like or whatever the hell that's called. And we do these cool things called premieres. So if you do hit the notifications, it will let you know that we're doing a premiere, and we'll sit down with you and watch it, the premiere of whatever it was. We just did a typo one not too long ago, so me and Nick sat in and was chatting with people. There's about 30, 40 of us in there. It's pretty cool. So yeah, thanks for watching Miller's review. Till I see you, damn fly, next time.